The world is about to witness the darkest and most heartbreaking chapter of Jesus' journey. The Chosen Season 6 is not just another season, it is the moment when faith, betrayal, sacrifice, and love collide in the most powerful way. A leaked trailer has revealed glimpses of the emotional storm waiting for us, and what happens next will change everything we thought we knew about this story. After years of following Jesus' miracles, teachings, and the bond he built with his disciples, the journey now reaches the moment everyone knew was coming, but nobody was ready to face. The night of betrayal has arrived. The Messiah who healed thousands, comforted the broken, and changed countless lives will now stand alone before those who want him destroyed. Today, we are breaking down everything we know about the Chosen Season 6, exploring the most intense moments, the emotional battles, and the events that could make this the most unforgettable season of the entire series. The Chosen Season 6 begins at a moment filled with fear, confusion, and heartbreak. The peaceful night in the Garden of Gethsemane suddenly becomes the turning point where everything changes. Jesus knows what is coming, but his disciples still struggle to understand the danger surrounding them. For the disciples, this is the moment when their greatest fears become reality. The man they believed would bring victory and restore hope is now being surrounded by soldiers. The person they followed across villages, the person they watched perform miracles is now being taken away like a criminal. But Jesus does not run. He does not fight. He does not try to escape his destiny. Instead, he accepts what is happening with a calmness that shows the strength of his mission. This moment reveals something powerful about Jesus. He is not losing control. He is willingly walking toward the sacrifice he came to make. The disciples, however, are not ready for this. Their emotions take over. They want to protect him. They want to stop the soldiers. They want to believe there must be another way. But Jesus understands something they cannot yet see. This painful path is part of a greater purpose. As Jesus is taken away, the emotional weight of the moment becomes impossible to ignore. The people closest to him are forced to watch as their teacher, their friend, and their hope is treated like an enemy. The journey leads Jesus toward his first interrogation, where the powerful leaders begin searching for a reason to condemn him. They believe they are in control. They believe they are judging Jesus. But the deeper truth is that this moment reveals their own hearts. Inside the trial, Jesus stands before those who question his words and his teachings. They want answers. They want evidence. They want him to defend himself. But Jesus does not respond with fear. He does not try to impress them. Instead, he speaks with confidence because he knows exactly who he is. The questions are not only about what Jesus has done, they are about who he claims to be. The leaders want to know if he truly believes he is the Messiah. They want him to deny his identity because admitting the truth would challenge everything they have built. But Jesus refuses to hide. One of the most powerful parts of this season will be seeing how Jesus responds when surrounded by hatred and injustice. While others become angry, scared, and desperate, Jesus remains steady. His silence, his words, and even his suffering reveal a strength unlike anything the world has seen. Meanwhile, outside the trial, another heartbreaking story is unfolding. Simon Peter, one of Jesus' closest followers, faces a moment of fear that changes him forever. Peter always believed he would stand beside Jesus no matter what happened. He promised he would never leave him. He believed his loyalty was stronger than any danger. But when pressure arrives, fear begins to take control. As people recognize him as one of Jesus' followers, Peter faces a choice. He can admit the truth, or he can protect himself. And in that moment of weakness, he denies knowing Jesus. 3 times. This is one of the most emotional moments because Peter is not a stranger. He is someone who walked with Jesus, witnessed miracles, and experienced moments that changed his life forever. Yet even the strongest followers can break when faced with fear. The pain becomes even greater when Jesus and Peter finally look at each other after the denial. Without needing many words, that moment carries years of friendship, trust, regret, and sorrow. Peter realizes what he has done. He remembers Jesus' warning, and his heart breaks because he understands that he failed the person who believed in him the most. But even in this darkest moment, the story is not only about failure. It is about forgiveness, transformation, and the power of redemption. As the trial continues, the leaders prepare to take Jesus before the highest authorities. They search for witnesses, they search for accusations, and they search for anything that can justify the decision they have already made. But the truth cannot be easily destroyed. The testimonies begin to fall apart because the accusations do not match. The people trying to prove Jesus guilty cannot even agree on the evidence against him. This creates frustration among the leaders. They are not looking for truth anymore. They are looking for a way to remove someone who threatens their power. And this is where the tension reaches a new level. Jesus stands in front of powerful men who believe they have the authority to decide his fate. But the audience will understand something deeper. The man standing before them is not powerless. He knows exactly what must happen next. The road ahead will bring betrayal, suffering, and unimaginable pain, but it will also reveal the greatest act of love the world has ever known. The Chosen Season 6 is preparing to show not only the suffering of Jesus, but also the incredible strength behind his sacrifice. And this is only the beginning. The pressure is rising, and the darkest hours of Jesus' journey are now beginning. After the betrayal in the garden and the painful moments of the first questioning, Jesus is brought deeper into a trial where powerful leaders are determined to find a reason to condemn him. But what makes this moment so powerful is not only what happens around Jesus, it is how Jesus responds when everything is taken away from him. The religious leaders believe they have control over the situation. They gather witnesses, hoping someone will provide enough evidence to destroy Jesus' reputation and convince everyone that he is dangerous. They want the people to see him as a threat instead of the Messiah they have been waiting for. But something unexpected happens. The witnesses cannot agree. Their stories contradict each other, and their accusations begin to collapse. The very people trying to prove Jesus guilty reveal their own desperation. They are not searching for truth. They are searching for a reason to carry out a decision they have already made. The tension inside the room grows stronger. The leaders become frustrated because Jesus is not reacting the way they expected. They want anger. They want fear. They want him to defend himself in a way that gives them something to use against him. But Jesus remains calm. Every word he speaks carries purpose. Every moment of silence carries meaning. He does not need to prove himself because he knows the truth cannot be changed by false accusations. The leaders finally realize that normal accusations will not be enough. They need Jesus to answer a question that goes beyond his actions. They need him to speak about his identity. They ask him directly if he is the Messiah. This is the moment where everything changes. For a long time, people had wondered who Jesus truly was. Some saw him as a teacher, others saw him as a prophet. Many believed he was the promised Savior. But now, standing before those who want him gone, Jesus does not hide. His answer shakes the entire room. He confirms who he is and speaks about the Son of Man coming with power and glory. These words are not just a statement. They are a declaration that changes the meaning of the entire trial. The leaders do not hear hope in his words. They hear a challenge to their authority. They believe Jesus has crossed a line, and their anger turns into a final decision. They accuse him of blasphemy. The sentence they want is clear: death. But while the leaders celebrate what they believe is their victory, another heartbreaking story begins with Judas. Judas Iscariot, the disciple who walked beside Jesus, is forced to face the reality of what he has done. The money he received for his betrayal no longer feels like a reward. It becomes a symbol of regret and pain. The 30 pieces of silver that once represented his choice now represent the weight of his guilt. Judas realizes he has betrayed someone innocent, someone who trusted him, someone who loved him. His words reveal a man overwhelmed by regret. He tries to return the money, but the damage has already been done. The decision cannot be undone. This part of the story shows one of the most tragic moments, because Judas was not an outsider. He was part of the group closest to Jesus. He saw the miracles. He heard the teachings. He experienced the same moments as the other disciples. Yet one choice changed everything. His story becomes a powerful reminder of how dangerous disappointment, fear, and temptation can become when they control the heart. While Judas struggles with his regret, Jesus is taken to the next stage of his journey. The religious leaders now need Roman approval because they do not have the authority to carry out the punishment they want. This brings Jesus before Pontius Pilate. Pilate is one of the most important figures in this moment because he does not see Jesus the same way the religious leaders do. He does not immediately view him as a criminal. Instead, he sees someone who does not appear to be a threat. Pilate begins questioning Jesus. The question is simple, but powerful. Are you the king of the Jews? This is not only a political question, it represents a much deeper conflict. Rome fears anyone who could challenge its power, and the idea of another king creates tension. But Jesus' answer does not come from fear. He does not try to escape the situation. He does not beg for mercy. Instead, he speaks with a calm confidence that surprises everyone around him. Pilate begins to understand that Jesus is different from any prisoner he has ever encountered. Most people facing death would fight desperately to save themselves. But Jesus seems completely aware of what is happening. And that creates confusion. Why would an innocent man accept this? Why would someone with power allow himself to be treated this way? The answer is something Pilate cannot fully understand. Jesus is not trapped. He is choosing this path. Pilate searches for a way to avoid making the final decision. He does not want the responsibility of condemning Jesus because he cannot find a true reason to punish him. So another unexpected step happens. Jesus is sent to Herod. Herod Antipas has heard stories about Jesus. He has heard about the miracles and the crowds that followed him. But instead of seeking truth, Herod sees Jesus as entertainment. He wants Jesus to perform a miracle. He wants to see something amazing. But Jesus refuses to turn his suffering into a performance. The silence from Jesus frustrates Herod. Instead of receiving a miracle, Herod responds with mockery. He treats Jesus with disrespect, dresses him in a royal robe as an insult, and sends him back to Pilate. But even in this humiliation, Jesus remains unchanged. The world around him tries to break him. The leaders accuse him. The soldiers mock him. The powerful people judge him. But nothing can take away who he is. As Jesus returns to Pilate, the final decision becomes unavoidable. Pilate knows the crowd has influence, and he tries one last time to give them a choice. A prisoner will be released, Jesus or Barabbas. The crowd's decision will become one of the most shocking moments in history. They choose Barabbas. The innocent man is rejected, while the guilty man is set free. And in this moment, the deeper meaning becomes clear. Jesus is taking the place of humanity. The innocent one accepts punishment so others can receive freedom. Pilate washes his hands, claiming he is not responsible for what happens next. But history will remember this moment forever. The final path has been chosen. Jesus will be beaten. Jesus will be mocked. Jesus will carry the cross. The road to suffering is about to begin. And the most emotional moments of the Chosen Season 6 are still ahead. The decision has been made, and there is no turning back. The moment everyone feared has arrived. Jesus, the man who healed the sick, welcomed the forgotten, and brought hope to countless people, is now standing before soldiers who are preparing to break him. But what makes these moments so powerful is that Jesus is not simply facing suffering. He is choosing to endure it because of his love for humanity. After Pilate gives the order, Jesus is taken away by the Roman soldiers. The cruelty begins immediately. He is mocked, insulted, and treated as if he is not a person but a defeated enemy. The soldiers do not understand who is standing in front of them. They see weakness, but the audience knows they are witnessing the greatest act of strength. The crown of thorns becomes a symbol of the pain Jesus is willing to accept. The robe placed on him is meant to humiliate him, but it carries a deeper meaning. They mock him as a king, yet they unknowingly reveal the truth. He is the king they do not recognize. Every moment becomes more difficult. Every step brings more suffering. But Jesus remains silent. He does not respond with hatred. He does not call for revenge. Instead, he continues forward with the same compassion he showed throughout his entire journey. This is what makes these scenes so emotional. The power of Jesus is not shown by escaping pain. It is shown by enduring pain without losing love. Meanwhile, the people who follow Jesus are struggling to understand what is happening. The disciples who once believed they were witnessing the beginning of a kingdom are now watching everything fall apart. Their dreams seem shattered. Their hope feels lost. The man they believed would bring victory is now being led toward execution. But what they cannot see yet is that this is not the end of the story. As Jesus is forced to carry the cross, the weight of the moment becomes overwhelming. The journey through the streets is filled with anger, sadness, and confusion. People who once celebrated him now watch as he walks toward death. Some people mock him, some people cry, some people look away because they cannot handle seeing such suffering. The emotional impact of this journey will likely become one of the strongest parts of The Chosen Season 6, because it shows not only the physical pain Jesus experiences, but also the emotional pain of being rejected by the very people he came to save. The crowd does not see a savior, they see a condemned man. But among those watching are people who still believe. Mary, Jesus' mother, stands with unbearable sorrow. For a mother, seeing her child experience such cruelty is beyond imagination. The pain she feels is not only because of what is happening in that moment, but because she knows this journey was part of a greater purpose from the beginning. She remembers the child she raised. She remembers the miracles she witnessed. She remembers the words spoken about him years before. And now she watches as he walks toward the cross. The disciples also face their own pain. Their teacher, their friend, and their hope is being taken away from them. They are forced to confront a reality they never wanted to accept. Jesus had warned them. He had told them this moment would come. But knowing something will happen does not make the pain easier when it finally arrives. As Jesus becomes weaker, the soldiers realize he can no longer carry the cross alone. They find Simon of Cyrene and force him to help carry the burden. At first, Simon is simply someone caught in the middle of the situation. He did not wake up that day expecting his life to change. He did not plan to become part of this moment. But history remembers him because one unexpected encounter connected him forever to Jesus' final journey. The road continues toward Golgotha, the place of the skull, the place where the final sacrifice will happen. Every step brings Jesus closer to the moment that will define history. When they arrive, Jesus is offered wine mixed with myrrh, something that could reduce the pain. But Jesus refuses it. He chooses to remain fully aware of what is happening. Even in suffering, he chooses purpose. The soldiers begin the crucifixion. The scene becomes one of the most heartbreaking moments of the entire story. Jesus, who spent his life healing others, is now the one who needs compassion. Jesus, who carried the burdens of others, now carries the burden of the world. The cross becomes the place where love and suffering meet. Beside Jesus, two criminals are also crucified. Their reactions reveal two completely different responses to him. One criminal mocks Jesus. He sees only a man who appears defeated. He does not understand why someone who claims to be the Savior would allow himself to suffer. But the other criminal sees something different. He recognizes that Jesus is innocent. He recognizes that there is something special about him. And in his final moments, he asks Jesus to remember him. The answer Jesus gives becomes one of the most powerful promises in the story. Even while suffering, Jesus offers hope. Even while dying, Jesus offers forgiveness. This moment reveals the heart of who Jesus is. The world sees a man losing everything, but faith sees a Savior giving everything. Around the cross stand those closest to Jesus. Mary, John, Mary Magdalene, and the other women experience a pain words cannot describe. They cannot stop what is happening. They cannot take away his suffering. All they can do is remain beside him. And sometimes, presence is the greatest expression of love. As the hours pass, the darkness surrounding the moment grows deeper. The sky changes, and the entire atmosphere reflects the seriousness of what is happening. The people watching begin to realize this is not an ordinary execution. Something greater is taking place. The earth itself seems to respond. The final moments of Jesus' life approach, but even at the edge of death, he continues to show forgiveness, love, and obedience. The cross is not the end of his mission. It is the moment everything leads toward. And as The Chosen Season 6 continues, the story moves closer to the most emotional and unforgettable moments ever shown in the series.